Lesson 12 for December 14 to 20, Dealing with Bad Decisions. Monday, December 16, Nehemiah's Reproof. Question, read Nehemiah chapter 13, verses 26 and 27. What does this show about how important biblical history is for informing us about the dangers of deviating from the right path? Nehemiah 13, beginning at verse 26, Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations there was no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, pagan women caused even him to sin. Should we then hear of your doing all this great evil, transgressing against our God by marrying pagan women? Solomon was led deeper into sin by the choices he made. It would be accurate to say that Solomon caused his own ruin by disobeying God's command for the kings of Israel, as in Deuteronomy 17:17, Neither shall he, the king, multiply wives for himself, lest his heart turn away. Solomon's life is used as a negative example. Not only did he marry more than one wife, but significantly, as Nehemiah points out, he chose women who were not worshippers of God. Question, why was Nehemiah correct in reproving the nations for intermarriage with pagans? And we have several texts to look at here. First of all, Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4. Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and that they were beautiful. And they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. And Genesis 24, verses 3 and 4, And I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. But you shall go to my country and to my family, and take a wife for my son Isaac. And Genesis 28, 1 and 2. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him, and charged him, and said to him, You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan Aram, to the house of Bethuel your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there of the daughters of Laban your mother's brother. And Deuteronomy 7, verses 3 and 4. Nor shall you make marriages with them. You shall not give your daughter to their son, nor take their daughter for your son. For they will turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods. So the anger of the Lord will be aroused against you and destroy you suddenly. And 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness, and what communion has light with darkness? The command not to intermarry was not about nationalism, but about idolatry. People in the Bible married non-Israelites. Moses married Zipporah, a Midianite woman. Boaz married Ruth, a Moabite. Instead, the issue with intermarriage in these commands concerns marrying someone who is of a different faith or of no faith. The problem was that the people in Ezra and Nehemiah's time did not choose to marry believers in God. Richard M. Davison, in his book The Flame of Yahweh, published by Peabody in Massachusetts in 2007, states, The Edenic plan for marriage called for a complementary wholeness of two partners in spiritual faith, as well as other significant values. End of quote. The pagan wives in this story did not choose to renounce idolatrous worship. Consequently, Nehemiah was perhaps more saddened than outraged by the choices of the people, since to him this demonstrated a lack of real commitment to God. The Bible gives us formulas for practices that will keep us grounded in God and are designed to maximize our happiness. In the same way, the command to be equally yoked in marriage was supposed to help us lead a better life and to encourage mutual devotion to God. So to finish today, what principles can we take from these accounts today that can help us protect our faith and that of our family? This week's lesson has been read by Dr. Percy Harrold from Queensland, Australia. It is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department, and through the services of Christian Services for the Blind. A video of this podcast also occurs on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.